Hi, ArcfieldWeather.com meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Tuesday morning, February 22nd. Quite a topsy-turvy temperature pattern for the Mid-Atlantic region, the northeast U.S. over the next few days. We're in the middle of a mild stretch here that began yesterday and will continue into the day on Wednesday. In fact, Wednesday will likely be the peak of this mild stretch. Places like D.C., Philadelphia, New York City. By tomorrow afternoon, you can see high temperatures in and around D.C. of 70 degrees, probably 65 degrees in Philadelphia and New York City on Wednesday afternoon. This warm-up will come with some rain. In fact, rain is on the way for the midday and afternoon hours for the I-95 corridor region. It looks like it'll continue right into the evening hours. Nothing more than a shower or two over the next few hours. But again, periods of rain for the afternoon and evening. Really the first kind of a soaking rainfall we've had in the Mid-Atlantic region in quite a while. Here's the current radar loop from the College of DuPage weather website. A few showers off the coast of New Jersey, maybe an isolated sprinkle here in southeastern Pennsylvania. The main batch of rain out across the western Mid-Atlantic right now and the eastern part of the Ohio Valley. All of this expanding to the east as low pressure pushes by to the north and west out across the Great Lakes towards the St. Lawrence River Valley. Again, periods of rain by the midday in D.C. and then the afternoon for Philadelphia and New York City. You could also have some patchy fog mixing in, especially later on tonight into the early morning hours on Wednesday. Well, before we walk through the forecast maps from last night's operational run of the GFS, I want to take a look at the total accumulation of freezing rain in this upcoming event. This is all the way through midday Friday, but the main event will be later Thursday into Thursday night in places like D.C., Philadelphia, New York City, especially in the northern suburbs of D.C., out across southern and central Pennsylvania. This is the total freezing rain buildup in this upcoming event as depicted by the 0Z run of the GFS model. Anytime you see 3/4 of an inch of ice, that is a potential big problem here, as is depicted here by the 0Z run of the GFS. Again, primarily from the northern suburbs of D.C. out across the Pennsylvania-Maryland border into southern and central Pennsylvania. There will be some snow mixed in. There will also be some sleet mixed in. And eventually it all becomes plain rain. But the biggest concern, without question, is the freezing rain and a potential ice buildup. Again, talking later Thursday into Thursday night. And the GFS model is not the only model depicting a freezing rain buildup. This is the Canadian model run from 0Z last night. Again, like the GFS, pretty consistent with the northern suburbs of D.C. out across the Pennsylvania-Maryland border in all the way into central Pennsylvania. Even again on this particular model, some ice buildup amounts of up to 3/4 of an inch or so. So this is the biggest concern. There will be some snow, some sleet mixed in. Eventually it becomes plain rain, but the biggest concern is for the freezing rain with temperatures at or slightly below the freezing mark later Thursday into Thursday night, and liquid rain will fall, freeze on contact, especially on those untreated surfaces, and this is the possibility of an accumulated buildup by the time we get to Friday morning. Well, let's now walk through the forecast maps from the 0Z run of the GFS. Again, all these maps available on Pivotal Weather. We have the precipitation right now in the form of rain out across the Ohio Valley into the western part of Pennsylvania and West Virginia. Let's just walk through here and you see the rain advancing to the east. Again, periods of rain from midday on through the afternoon in the D.C. area, arriving in the afternoon in Philadelphia, New York City, and it continues into the evening hours. Most of the rain is out of here by the time we get to early Wednesday. The day on Wednesday will start off cloudy in the Mid-Atlantic region, but then some sunshine will break out for the midday and afternoon hours. And you can see at this particular time, this is mid-morning on Wednesday, we have a cold frontal system lying right in this region right here, and it'll still remain mild through the midday and afternoon on Wednesday. In fact, very mild likely reaching 70 degrees tomorrow afternoon when the sun breaks out. 70 in D.C. and 65, at least 65 in Philadelphia and New York City. Again, maybe a shower in the morning, but the afternoon looks partly sunny and very mild. Then we get into the overnight hours on Wednesday, and here's where the trouble begins. This is about 1 a.m. going into Thursday morning, and a couple things to point out here. First of all, strong, cold, high pressure over the northern plains, the upper part of the Midwest, starting to extend into the southeastern part of Canada. Let's move even farther in time, and here we go by Thursday morning. Strong high pressure out across the eastern part, southeastern part of Canada, and this is when we have what's called a cold air damming setup. Cold air pours down the eastern side of the Appalachian Mountains, low level, cold, dense Arctic air. Meanwhile, upper part of the atmosphere, there still will be some layers of air that is slightly above freezing, and that's your recipe for a freezing rain event, when the surface temperatures are at or below freezing, and yet just a couple thousand feet aloft you may have a layer of air where temperatures are slightly above freezing. This is a cold air damming situation with the low level, dense Arctic air at ground level, but then an overrunning situation where warmer air aloft pushes up and over that cold, dense air, and this is the result. Freezing rain is liable to break out again. This is now by Thursday afternoon. The blue represents some snow, the pink some sleet, and there'll be some freezing rain developing as well. Biggest concern again is the freezing rain. We may have some snow, we may have some sleet, but the biggest concern is a buildup of ice, and here we go. This is the purple and the pinks here represent sleet and freezing rain by the time we get into Thursday evening. Snow more than likely to accumulate across the northern half of Pennsylvania late Thursday into Thursday night, but from the central Pennsylvania down south across southern Pennsylvania into all the way down into the D.C. metro region, especially those northern suburbs, watching out for the potential of an ice buildup with the freezing rain. Then we get into the overnight hours, and this is all freezing rain right here by the time we get into the wee hours of the morning going into Friday morning. Eventually, it turns to plain rain in the immediate D.C., Philadelphia, New York City corridor by, let's say, mid-morning on Friday. Significant accumulating snow up across the interior part of the Northeast. Places like Ithaca, New York, could get a foot of snow out of this, and certainly interior New England could get substantial snow out of this as well during the day on Friday. That system kind of clears out of here, and let's just move forward in time and watch. One other thing we'll watch out for by the time we get to the latter part of the weekend. This is the Saturday evening forecast map, basically cold and dry on Saturday going into Sunday. And then there'll be a storm right here that we'll have to monitor over the next few days. This is now the Sunday morning forecast map time. We'll have to watch for this storm. It's possible it could end up going a little bit farther to the north than this, and that could pose a snow threat late in the upcoming weekend. But before we get there, biggest concern continues to be the threat for a buildup of ice later Thursday into Thursday night, especially from the northern suburbs of D.C. out across southern and central Pennsylvania. Again, later Thursday into Thursday night, there can be some snow mixed in, some sleet, but again, the biggest concern will be the freezing rain possibility, and this is all following a very mild Wednesday afternoon with some sunshine and 65 to 70 degree highs in that I-95 corridor. Stay tuned for updates later today and for the rest of the week here at arcfieldweather.com. That's it for now. I'm meteorologist Paul Dorian.